Hi, good morning. This is Susan Burns, CEO and founder of Small Business Legal School. And we are here today for Make It Legal Tuesdays. And really excited today because we have with us the two of the founders of whoever's shuffling papers. That comes through on the microphone. So if you want to mute while you're shuffling or whatever. But we have two. It's a really exciting day because we have Kate Stolfus, who is one of the founders of Propel, and she is an amazing connection enthusiast and helps women entrepreneurs excel. And she has coined a phrase called courageous connection that I love. So Kate is a big fan of dinner parties and handwritten notes and heartfelt conversations, which is a woman after my own heart. So welcome, Kate.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Do you want to maybe turn your microphone down just a little bit? This seems a little bit loud to me. I don't know about everybody else. And then we also have Emily Levinson, who is another founder of Propel, and she's been inspiring others since the turn of the century, which sounds like it's a long time, but it really isn't. When I was born, that was a long time. But so she's a rainbow maker and a magical mentor. She's also a game changer. And she's a social media whiz and great at conversation. Emily has a unique talent and she finds meaning in mayhem. And I'm wondering if you also find order in chaos, Emily.
Um, no, because I like order way too much. I'm a
Ah.
little bit too type A for that, but I do. I like finding meaning in things in frustrating situations or just difficult situations that most people walk away or run away from. I run into and try to figure out what it means.
That's an amazing gift that you have. So thank you for sharing it with us.
Yeah, thank you for having us. We're excited.
Yeah. So always on Make It Legal Tuesdays, you get best strategies for taking charge and becoming the CEO of your business. And always at the end, we have live Q&A, and there's plenty of time to help you cover your assets and ask questions of today's guests. So for Emily and Kate, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about how you started your business and um, and how you went about that.
Okay, thank you so much, Susan, for the lovely and thoughtful introductions. We are super excited to be here today with all of you. A little background on how Propel came to be. It all started 4 years ago. Emily and I had met through an interview, actually, on through a collaboration, coincidentally, as that is what we're talking about today. But we had met via an interview for my blog, and we hit it off from the get-go. And we were both women entrepreneurs. We were both doing our own businesses, and really felt a great connection with each other. And we went to lunch together one day, along with also our founding co-pilot, Carrie Nardini, and we knew that we'd really like to do something for women entrepreneurs, specifically in Pittsburgh. And our idea was we wanted to bring them together and perhaps offer some sort of workshop that could be helpful for entrepreneurs. So as we started brainstorming, we began to put some ideas together for a workshop and also a launch party. And throughout this process, Emily, who was really, really awesome at branding, came up with a logo and the name Propel. And before we knew it, we had this brand. And at the time, we weren't really certain where it was going to go, but we just kept rolling with the energy. And lo and behold, at our launch party, 100 eager, wonderful, creative women entrepreneurs showed up. And from that moment on, we knew we were definitely on to something. And there was definitely a need for a group or for an organization in Pittsburgh to bring these women together. So in the beginning, we started out with workshops, our launch event. We have lots of different networking happy hours. But over the years, Propel has grown into a membership community, and we also have our online community and our in-person mastermind, which is a small group that meets together monthly, as well as we offer coaching. Emily and I offer coaching calls to private clients. So that's where we are today.
That's great. And so when exactly did you start?
We started in November 2011. We just celebrated our 4-year anniversary. We always have some sort of birthday party. So yes, 4 years in business.
Yay, congratulations. So
Thank you.
part of what you do is shining the light on the amazing work of women entrepreneurs. So tell us more about that and more about your why.
Yeah, from the very beginning, the thing that overlapped for the three founding partners was really shining the light on women to build a community of women that supports each other and lifts each other up and is really excited about each other's successes and wins, and not the norm of competition and kind of pushing people down to get ahead. That really was something that had left a bad taste in our collective mouths. So we really were very intentional around creating a community of women that can come together to really just have each other's backs, to look out for each other, and to celebrate all of those pieces. Collaboration. We were three women coming together to collaborate and to support the work that we were all doing. So that really has been a core guiding principle for us. And the more women that began to come to our events, the more we realized that there are just so many talented and creative and driven and passionate women in our community, but also just in general in the entrepreneurial world. And as we continue to move forward and grow and evolve, it just for us was so important to feature those women, to help people get out of their ways, to give people confidence to step forward, to give them the tools and the resources to grow personally, professionally, so that they could do what they wanted to do, accomplish their lofty goals, and just push women to think bigger and to really just dive in. I don't know. It's hard to kind of say this without using the same words over and over, but we really just wanted to be a platform, a stepping point, a launching pad for women to grow and evolve and to see how powerful and creative and smart and brilliant and wonderful they were, because often, we've had this experience in the women we work with, just you don't sometimes see your own brilliance or your own powers, and sometimes you need somebody else shining the light for you or reflecting back what you are capable of in order for you to believe it. So that for us is really what the purpose and the passion behind what we do with Propel is all about.
And that is something that you find particular to women entrepreneurs rather than men and women, that the need for the support and shining the light on brilliance.
I think women have a harder time with it, and I think that there are less resources available sometimes to women. If you look at the news, if you look at entrepreneur.com and Forbes, and some of the resources, they're very male-dominated and male-driven. It's fewer and farther between to see features about powerful women entrepreneurs or successful women entrepreneurs. So we really felt like, one, it was a population that was not getting as much support and attention, and also seeing that there needed to be a different way around it, that women need different resources and tools and language and support versus the kind of things that work, and broad strokes here, for men in general and what was already in existence out there. And very specific to Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh has had an incredible boom with technology and apps and things like that with Google and Carnegie Mellon University, which are really leaders in that industry, which tends to be a very male-dominated world. So we were looking to balance out the playing field a little bit here and cater to a group that had been underrepresented locally. But we also just see a need for it kind of, online, that there have been less resources or tools available in that sense. And truth be told, it's just also where our passion lies with Kate and I, and also with our third founding partner. We just were really passionate about supporting women, and that's who our networks were filled with and where we saw us being able to do the most good.
Oh, great. So let's take it out of the broad brush strokes if we can and talk about some of the specifics that you do.
Kate mentioned some of it, and Kate, you're welcome to step in here in terms of what we do specifically, but collaboration really is at the heart of it. So we wanted to pull together some tips for you around collaboration, but Kate, maybe we can share a story around some of the collaborations we've seen in the network or how we support that before we get into the tips.
Oh, yes. Oh, there have been so many collaborations. One of the things that is so exciting about Propel is that there have been so many events that have had large amounts of women in the room, but we don't necessarily know who meets who or what happens, post-events. But there have definitely been many collaborations that have resulted from the Propel network. And just to name a few, Emily, I hope you can help me with some more examples, but we have an amazing seamstress in our community, Jennifer Rocket, and she teamed up with another Helen Ben of our community as well to create a product called Spandice, which is a wearable garment that helps you ice your back while you're on the go. Emily, who else?
Let's see, we've had, that's kind of the biggest one. Our first favorite moment, a story we love to share, is at one of our early networking events. We had women introduce themselves in the room, and two people on opposite sides of the room who probably would have never connected. We had somebody who owned a pet grooming company and a doggy daycare kind of facility, and then a woman across the room who specialized in aromatherapy for pets. And that was sort of the first magical moment of that collaboration coming together. And those two women who probably would have not ever spoken to each other at a happy hour or online, they probably would have never thought to connect, but once the introductions happened, they both said, we need to talk. So that's always my favorite story of women partnering together from some of our events and collaborating and just using their skills to complement the work that each other is doing.
It's so exciting.
That's a great story. Yeah, go ahead.
Just to add to that, we posted it in our Rocket community a few months ago just to see how many collaborations people could tell us about, and I think there was close to 50 just within that group of a little bit of over 80 women. Well, maybe, yeah.
You want to explain what Rocket
Community is? It was a lot.
Explain what Rocket Community is.
Well, sure. We have an online community where women entrepreneurs can join and be a part of the group and ask questions about things that they're working on, find collaborators, get advice on different projects, kind of a place to talk about business online really anytime. And we've also do different challenges. We have different monthly themes for the group. And Emily and I are in the group all the time. We also each create a video once a week for some different action-taking ideas, just to get people thinking a little bit differently and thinking about different ways to grow their businesses. I don't know, Emily, do you have some other things to add to that?
About Rocket or about other collaborations?
About Rocket.
I think you got it.
Great. So talk about how you help people facilitate collaborations, or how you help facilitate collaboration. Your 3 tips.
Well, yes, we have 3 tips for everyone today. We were talking a little bit about collaborations. And these tips are for you if you are looking to approach somebody that maybe you don't know all that well yet, but you're just really drawn to them and you love the work that they're doing and you'd like to do a project with them. So these 3 tips are can be applied when you want to make an ask to somebody, probably specifically via email, but you can use this really in any situation if you're meeting them in person or you want to call them. These tips can be applied there. So I will start with the first one. The first tip is know their work inside and out. So before you reach out, really study up on their most recent projects, but also look at what they've done, throughout their professional career. Show that you've done the research before you get to know them, not just that you saw them on the news the other night. And when you do your initial reach out, don't be shy about sharing them with a compliment or 3. The more specific, the better. But I think a lot of times when we have great ideas, we want to just send an email and jump right in with our idea, and we forget to, let the person know that you're familiar with their work and that you really respect them and you would love to collaborate with them. So first tip, know their work inside and out.
Tip number 2 is to describe your idea and explain how the collaboration will benefit them. So most of us think about all the ways that it's going to benefit us or how they would add value to the project, but what we forget is that the person we're reaching out to has their own work, their own priorities, and the things that they're really working on. So if you don't tell them why it's going to benefit them or be worth the time it's going to take, it's really, you're going to get a lot of no's. Until you can figure out how to frame it in a way that's going to show where the benefit lies for them. Is it list building? Is it exposure? Is it money? Is it monetary compensation? Is it helping to evolve or grow their business? So it helps with, this is partnered with one of knowing their work inside out. What do they do? Who have they collaborated with in the past? What has that collaboration built for them? And then how yours is going to benefit them as well. It just kind of follows so nicely in there and really allows them to start thinking about, oh, okay, so if I do this, my list can grow by this number or this percentage, or I'll have exposure to this number of people, I'll be compensated for my time, it'll take X number of hours. Those are really great ways to start to grease the wheels and get people thinking about what it would be like to partner up.
I think these are really great points too, because people that are popular are solicited a lot, and so this is a way you can stand out among the many people that are raising their hand for attention, is to follow these steps. These are great points.
Yes, absolutely. Everybody, especially people who are in the public eye a lot, are super busy. So the more thoughtful you can be on these approaches, and also being mindful of the length of the messages that you're sending too. I mean, it's time. Being respectful of time and being super clear is so much more effective than pouring out your whole life story in your first email to somebody. So concision is another thing to definitely be aware of, especially on a first reach out. So our third tip is to be very clear on the specific task that you would like your collaborator to complete. So I have personally received quite a few emails actually saying, hey, I love your blog, or oh, I'm really digging Propel, I'd love you to help with this. But it's very, as somebody on the other end, when you just hear the word help, you don't really know what help means. Is this like a month, like a commitment for an entire month, or what exactly does help mean? So be clear on the specific tasks, be clear on how long you expect the task to take them, explain their role in the project, what you would like them to do, and talk about what you personally will be responsible for. So how will you as a person reaching out should, really take the lead on making sure that the project, you are the project manager. So being clear on what you would like your collaborator to complete, how much time you think it would take, and especially if money is involved, be very clear about compensation up front. So if you're doing a project together, maybe you pitch that you would split it 50-50, or you could say, propose that the collaborator state a capped rate of what they think their time is worth. Whatever it is, or however you get to the bottom line, just make sure you do it up front. There have been a few times when we assumed certain compensation in the beginning, and it was much different than our collaborators. So the more clear you can be up front, the more easier the process is in the end.
And you are speaking my language, Kate, because we didn't talk about this when we were talking about working together on this, when we were talking about our own collaboration, and now looking at this, I'm like super grateful that you agreed to join me, because I don't think I did much of explanation on the benefit to you. But the legal, when you collaborate with somebody, that's a contract. There's a contract between you, whether you write it or not. And of course, my focus is to make sure that you have something in writing and that it's very clear, as Kate just said. That is one of my biggest points, that the reason you write things down, the reason for written contracts, one of the biggest reasons is clarity. Because as you just said, you can have, you're operating under one set of assumptions and they're operating under another set. When you start putting things in writing, then it becomes clear that you haven't fully explored an issue, and you really prevent a lot of misunderstandings. Has that been your experience?
Oh, definitely. I think my preferred mode for reach outs for this type of thing is email, just so it can all be laid out from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you can get it in writing from the beginning, then if something were to go, was a little bit unsure in the end, you can always, you have that in your back pocket if you were to need it. So yes, I would definitely agree.
And people forget things, from as time goes on, especially if you have a lot of back and forth and you might not remember what you settled on. And I just actually did that myself this week. I said, no, I promised it next week. And I'm sorry for the misunderstanding. And then I went back and looked at my email and I'm like, oh no, I did promise it this week. So, okay, but I remember, in my brain, it was clear that it was next week. It happens.
Right.
We're humans,
Yes.
we're busy. So it's not, and it's not I think a lot of times people say, well, I trust the other person. It's not an issue of trusting or not trusting. I hope you have some degree of trust with people that you're collaborating with, but it's really a matter of clarity.
Sure.
Yes.
And I think too, we've been involved with events that have had 6 to 7 organizations involved, and it can become a pretty messy endeavor and thousands of emails all over the place. And when you don't have clarity about who's doing what, it can get really murky very quickly. It's easier when you have fewer people involved, but it's still potential, and also things just don't get done if nobody's assigned a task to do something. So the more you know what you're supposed to do, where you're supposed to show up, how many hours it's going to entail, what the compensation is, if any, ahead of time, it just makes it so much easier to say yes. You'll get way more yeses, and also it just helps to make it a much smoother process in the end.
And you just hit on my other point that I frequently make, without, you guys must be psychic, without us having discussed this beforehand, but it streamlines your operations. If you have good, solid written agreements, it really streamlines the process. It makes you much more efficient, much more successful, and you have time, instead of spending a lot of time trying to iron out something that could be clear if it were in writing. You can focus on, if you have it in writing, you can just focus on what it is you're trying to do. Because usually if you do collaborations, particularly if you have a lot of people involved or different organizations and it's a bigger event, there's a lot happening quickly, and you don't want to have to spend time trying to figure out something. It would be so easy to just figure it out ahead of time.
Right. And I just want to share an example of the 3 tips because this happened to us recently and it's almost kind of verbatim for what we've talked about. We had somebody reach out to us asking for us to be a part of an event, and it was more about, it was just, can you be there? We're an organization. This is who we cater to. Can you come? And we asked for more information about the organization, who do they cater to, all of that kind of stuff, and just got well, you can find the information, here's the website, and do you want to do it or not? And it was kind of, we tried to figure out what the benefit was for us. We looked at it probably longer than we should have based on the email, but in the end we said no because we just didn't see the benefit to us, or was it worth the time to be invested in what this was. And then fast forward a couple weeks, we received another email from a different person, and it basically outlined all 3 points that we've talked about in terms of praise for the work that we've done, clearly familiar with the organization and who we cater to, what we do, talked about how the collaboration would benefit us and why it would be worth our time, and also kind of outlined what our role would be, what was expected, and what the time commitment would be. So it was a very night and day kind of email. Had we got the first one, all those weeks ago, it may have been something that we said an immediate yes to. So it's really interesting to see same request, same event, same everything except the email and the details within it. So it's really interesting to see the warm and fuzzies that you get by following this outline and just feeling like you are important and matter, and that people are really valuing what you do and what you bring to the table versus, hey, we have this thing, do you want to do it? So just being on the receiving end of it very recently it's funny that comes up because it's a really great example of the power of what we're talking about here.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, thoughtfulness is such a game changer. It was amazing. It was night and day. I felt when we received the second email, I was like, oh, I would love to do this, but it was too late by that point in terms of our schedules. But the way you present something to someone can really be, like Emily said, night or day.
I really like that, and I mean, when you think about it, it makes sense that, of course, we all react better to somebody who's thoughtful and makes us feel like we're special and worth investment, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have nicely articulated all of those things in 3 steps. Nice work.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's talk about successful partnerships. And I know you're an LLC, so you're not legally partners, but we often refer to people we work with as partners. And I think the same holds true in collaborations. But let's talk about how you started. I know you've been talking about that you started with 3 people and now you are 2. So how did you approach your initial collaboration as a threesome? Did you have that clarity? And how did it evolve, and what's your current approach, and what has helped?
Hey, do you want to start or do you want me to?
Sure, I'll go for it. Okay, so our initial approach, when we started Propel, there were 3 of us together, and I think what helped us the most in the beginning was kind of outlining who was going to be in charge of what roles. So kind of the different aspects of our business, we have our different responsibilities as we have our website design and blogging. Emily took the lead on that. We have the financial arm, so the bookkeeping and the accounting, and at the time Carrie took the lead on that. And then we had the event coordination and planning, customer service and sales, and those were some things that I was involved with. Well, we were involved with, all of the business. We each kind of had our own little department that we were heads of. So clarifying those roles in the beginning, and we also talked about before we formed our LLC, our business percentages, and we split it evenly 3 ways, and that worked out well for us. So that's how we were set up in the beginning. Maybe Emily, do you want to talk about how we went from 3 to 2?
Sure. Yeah, we also, our initial agreement was really formal. It was on a napkin and
Oh,
then
right.
and an old notebook, and then it went into a Google Doc where it lived for about 2 years. We were still an LLC and we had it kind of typed up, but that was about as formal as it got. And we consider ourselves to be very lucky that the third partner left on very, very wonderful terms. We love her. We think she's doing amazing things. And that transition could have gone south very quickly, and we count our lucky stars that it happened as amicably as it did. Partly due to the fact that we had thought about it ahead of time. So we did have if somebody left, this is what would happen in that Google Doc, even though it wasn't as official as going through a lawyer and having it drafted up in that sense. But that was part of the success of it, of thinking through it as we were still on good terms, or at least in the beginning when the idea was happy and full of rainbows and puppies and kittens, and we were excited to move forward. So it was I will credit Kate to that she had us think about that. I probably would not have. I would have just said, this is wonderful. We all like each other. Let's just move on. But Kate was very good about saying, let's just get this in writing and make sure we all agree upon the terms, and let's think about, how we split money, and how, even if we don't make much, let's think about how this is going to work. So it was really, that was invaluable advice. And Kate definitely helped pave the way there with that suggestion. And then as Carrie stepped down to focus her attention more on her other project, Kate and I decided that it was really time for us to step it up and have a more formal agreement in place. So we did work with a lawyer to draft up an operating agreement for us, and terms, and what would happen if either of us stepped away, and what would happen if we wanted to be bought out, right? So we started to think a little bit bigger, but that really, that situation forced us to think a little bit bigger and differently about Propel as an organization, and how do we want this to live on if either of us step away, and what would happen for the future. So it was a catalyst for us to really think deeper about it, and to get more solid, and to get something just more firmly in writing versus an old Google Doc in a file system that's 4 years old. So we've definitely stepped it up and gotten more professional as we've gone further in business.
I find that in my practices, people start with an idea and for a business, and in the beginning it is exciting, and it's something that almost like it's a like you're playing dolls, like this is something that you're just doing.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you go, oh wait, this is a real business. Like, we like this, we're going, and we're going to be successful, and we're going to go for it. And it seems to me that it's that at that point when people become, women in particular, would become serious about the business, that they pay attention to the legal issues and want something more formal, like, oh, this is something we need. And so when you moved to that phase, did that help? Did that change your attitude, or did that help your operations at all, or did you just think, okay, we got that done?
I think it was probably more of the latter of that's checked off our list. We still, it's interesting because I don't think it's made a difference at all in terms of how Propel is run or the things that we do, but I think it gave us peace of mind, which is important, and it's helped to take any stress out of the process. So if it were to come up, it's already mapped out. Like, there's no, certainly it could be changed, but really there's no questioning it. There's no stress around it. It just is what it is, which I think is helpful. It just takes that unknown out of the picture.
Mm-hmm. So I
It
think
was nice to have,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to add, for me, it was just nice to have a third party kind of guiding us through, an expert, a lawyer who really knows this stuff, because I mean, we do our best, but we are not we are not attorneys. But it was just nice to have somebody step us through the process and ask us some questions that we wouldn't have thought of otherwise. And while I can't really pick up the document, I can't tell you that I understand it 100% because there is a lot of legalese. I do know that we have a very solid agreement in place, and it just, yeah, like Emily said, peace of mind.
Mm-hmm. I think that's great. And, you know, you shouldn't be expected to know what a lawyer would know because that's what lawyers do. You propel
Yes.
and shine the spotlight and encourage collaboration brilliantly. Um, so, and what I see for successful partnerships is what you just said. It's written down, you worked it through, you had a lawyer guide you through the process. Your agreement is clear, and even though you don't understand it, I think you understand like each and every single word. You
Yes.
understand the basic concepts. I think having that
Yes.
clarity gives you freedom in conversations so that you can, you know, you don't have to hesitate about like, oh, if I say this, are they going to get mad and leave the business? I mean, that's not even ever in your back of your mind because you know what happens. If somebody wants to leave, here are the steps they take. This is how we roll. So it's clear it takes a lot of stress, in my opinion, and what I've observed, it takes stress out of just operations and allows people to sort of move about freely and do what they do best. In your case, encourage collaborations. And then another thing is regular meetings, I think, are helpful. I assume you guys have regular meetings and contact.
Yes, weekly phone calls or face-to-face meetings and daily texts and emails and everything else. But that was actually something that made a huge difference for us because we were not meeting quite regularly enough, or we would meet every 2 weeks. And meeting weekly, having check-ins every day about what are you working on today. We also have a document that we work on together called the Daily Five, and it's something we actually have on the website as a free download, so if anybody's interested, you're welcome to grab a copy of that. But it's really just 5 questions of, 5 questions.
5 questions.
Why it's called the Daily Five. Hello. But questions about sorry, my brain is a little fried today. But who did you reach out to? Who did you contact today? Did you send somebody an email, a handwritten note? What are your goals for the day? What did you work on yesterday? Kate and I each have ownership of a different social media platform. So what did you do on social media? Kate, I'm leaving one out, and I always forget which one this is because we just fill it out in there.
Okay. It's your reach out. It's your social media. It's what did you do today, and no, what did you do yesterday, and what are you going to do today? And I'm missing one too.
Wait, we should know. We should know this better. This is
I'm
okay.
It up.
Well, I'll have to go.
A win.
Oh, share a win.
Share a win. That's it. That's the first one.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, sometimes I can't.
Yeah, so you start on the successes. But even sometimes the win, truthfully, for both of us is that it was the weekend and we didn't work. Or I actually had, with my 19-month-old at home, she napped and I got to get work done. Like sometimes that's as basic as we get. And other times it's about seeing women in our community step up and do a challenge or post a video or step outside of their comfort zone. Sometimes it's we had a sale today, or we had somebody sign up for our Rocket community or our mastermind for the year. So, it can be a big goal. It can be a little one. It's anything in between, something that was just, worth mentioning or celebrating. So it doesn't have to be this massive, I made $10,000 today kind of thing. It can be something small like my child was on for a nap. And I
Mm-hmm.
took 10 minutes to deep breathe, right? Like that's sometimes the biggest win ever.
Yeah, it is. It's the little things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So tell us more about your community and your mastermind and how you work. And I have the information posted on the last slide I can go to for contact information, and then we'll move to Q&A. But so here you can see wepropel.com is the website, and then if you want to get a hold of info at wepropel.com is the general email. But tell us more about your programs, your mastermind, and how do people get involved, and what, and I know you started in Pittsburgh, but I assume you serve a larger market at this point being online.
Yeah, we do. So the community that would be suited for people outside of Pittsburgh would be our Rocket community, and that is our members only platform. It's based on Facebook, so we've found that people just are there, and it makes sense to have something where people are already interacting and spending a good chunk of time on. And it's private, so nobody else, unless you're a paid member, you don't have access to it. But that's where people can connect, can get support, get ideas and inspiration, ask questions, provide advice for other members going through something, which is a really valuable way, I think, to see how far you've come. So sometimes we don't realize how much success we've had or what we've learned or accomplished until we teach somebody else or share that knowledge with somebody. So it's nice to be mentored and to also be a mentor. So that Rocket group provides all of that. And and then we have our mastermind community, which is based in Pittsburgh, so it is an in-person meeting once a month. So we certainly would love to have people not from Pittsburgh. You would just have to travel to us to be a part of the group at this point. But that meets 9 times for 2016. We have three little breaks in there. Just most people travel in August and April, so it's a little harder in there. But we have 3 months on, 1 month off, 3 months on, 1 month off. And it's a really powerful way. I know, Susan, you're a part of a mastermind group too, a more virtual one, so you can
Mm-hmm.
share your experience too. But we just find that it's such a powerful way to step back, to think big about your business, to have accountability, to really be pushed outside of your comfort zone, and also just get support from people who have been there or who have different skill sets than what you have, and so to harness that collective brain power and really be able to take leaps, massive leaps forward in your business.
Great. Yeah, I think those are all great things. Masterminds are amazing. For me, the accountability is the thing. Otherwise, I can just
Yes.
I'm like a a rat on a wheel, or a hamster on a wheel, or a rat tapping for the pellet. I just can get going and lose sight of certain markers and certain goals I need to achieve in my business, to keep me to keep me moving forward, to propel me, but also to I don't know, to just help keep me sane and vibrant and alive and happy about what I'm doing. So I
Yes.
think, Mark, those are great groups, and any like online support groups where you can find a niche and resonate with other people in there. And so the pricing for your weekly or your monthly or your private Facebook group is
Yeah,
the
it's the
Rocket
Rocket
Community.
group is
Hmm.
35 a month. Yeah, our rock stars. We call all of our women in the group rock stars because they truly are.
That's
But it's
enough to make
35 a
anybody want
month.
to sign up for $35 a month to be a rock star.
Yeah.
Right? We need to rethink our branding, Kate. I think we need to put that in there. It's a small price to pay to be an absolute rock star. It's 35 a month or 350 for the year, so you basically get 12 months for the price of 10 if you sign up for an annual membership. So the annual is definitely the best deal, but for folks that want to just try it on or see if it would be a good fit, monthly subscription is a really wonderful way to do that,
Mhm.
and just kind of check it out, see what it's all about.
That's great. So, do you have any additional things you want to add, Kate or Emily? at this point?
I guess just back to the topic of collaboration, just to um, encourage other women or other people who are joining us today to not be afraid to make those reach outs. I think a lot of times it's just getting up the courage to reach out to somebody that you admire, to go for it and expect a no, maybe even expect 100 no's, but you will get to that yes. You will get to a super fun collaboration, and the only way you're going to get there is if you get past that initial hurdle, that initial ask. So that's my encouragement for the day.
Good. Here, I have a question. How do you identify people that would be appropriate for collaboration? Is that something you?
I mean, for us, we look for people that would help us get in front of more women that would be in our ideal market or our ideal customer, because we can help, because those are the people that we can help the most, and those are the people that we could work with in the future. Emily, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would also say to think about what you actually need. So what kind of project are you looking to do? What are the gaps that need to be filled for you? And then who do you know or who do you kind of see online or have exposure to that would be able to fill those gaps? So really looking
Mm,
at it from that standpoint too of who can do what you need and how do you
yes.
kind of how do you connect with them? How do you know them? How do you go about getting them to do that
whose
for you?
work whose work brings value to your customers, or who would be an ideal complement to what you have to offer.
Great.
Like, for instance, this collaboration, we get asked all the time. There's so many legal questions that come up in our community, so collaborating with you, Susan, was super ideal because we aren't lawyers.
Great. From this end too, a lot of women clients and women entrepreneurs really do need to. There a lot of I see them as confidence issues. So I think it's nice to bring this message that there really is a supportive community out there. And that leads me, do you still see that women are competitive rather than collaborative? Do you see that as a, I mean, that's how I was raised, but that was longer ago than you guys were raised, but women were more competition than they were.
I felt it a lot growing up and in high school and even in college that it was always about competition and who had the better hair or the better this or the better boy. I mean, like who got the hotter guy in school. I mean, that was kind of
Mm-hmm.
my or that kind of stuff. But I think that's one of the reasons that we were craving something like Propel ourselves, was because that was our experience, and we were really frustrated and tired by that old model. So we really intentionally went about changing it. I think now, though, because I've spent so much time surrounding myself with people who believe in collaboration and support, that I don't personally see it anymore because I've made great pains to, I've taken pride in culling my network and making sure that the people who I surround myself with believe in that too.
Mm-hmm. Good.
What about you, Kate?
Oh, I definitely say yes. That collaboration is coming through more. I think that there's always going to be a little bit of that competitiveness. I don't know. I mean, I think it's something that we've felt at different points. Some people have it more than others, and sometimes competition really isn't. It's not a bad thing, but I think that I don't know, collaboration is just kind of the route that we're focusing on, and we've seen it, the benefits that come from it, and so it's what we encourage and what we practice, and it's just kind of the direction that we're taking and inviting other people to come along with us.
Mm-hmm. Great. Here's one more question. How do you get yourself over the initial fear of reaching out to contact someone on a collaboration?
Hmm.
Well, my question is, can we get a little more information about what the fear is? Is the fear around reaching out to people? Is it the afraid of getting a no? What is the actual fear about? Because that'll help us to give some suggestions.
Fear of no.
So Kate, this example always sticks with me, and it's one that you have shared. Who's the guy that went after his goal was to get 100 no's?
I don't know the specific guy, but I I always think of that example as well. So yeah, embracing the no. What is so wrong with no? What will happen? It's really not in your mind it's this huge, embarrassing, horrible thing, but it's really okay. And sometimes no um, doesn't mean no forever. It just means no for this particular instance. But your reach out will always be in their brain space, in their in their memory, in their bank, and they might think of you for another opportunity, or they might know somebody else that can help you. So, like I said earlier, expect a no, and when you get the yes, it makes it all the more awesome. And another thing about just being kind of scared, just remember the mantra, do it scared. I have a poster from a coaching course I did a few years ago hanging on the wall, but it says do it scared. And I think of that all the time. And there's a lot of times I feel nervous or scared to send an email. Maybe it's a collaboration, maybe it's an email where I'm inviting somebody to work with me. But sometimes you just kind of hover over that send button and you just press click and it's out there. And then you move on. And then sometimes a very exciting email comes back your way.
Great advice. And I think, one of the thing about no's is sometimes it's really a blessing because it just means it points you in a different direction. And even though it might be sad or painful or whatever, initially, it's like, okay, wait, this is not the direction I should go. I need to be headed over here. This is not the right person for me. And I think there was a book written a long time ago called The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino. And that book was about I think there was a story about a door-to-door salesman, and every time he knocked on a door and they said no, he said, that brings me one closer to a yes. Because for one
That's
yes,
right.
you experience so many no's. And so the no is just like, oh, okay, so it's not this one. Maybe it's the next one. Oh, not that one. It's the next one. You know, so it's not, I think we have a tendency to take it personally or that it means we're not worth something, our business isn't worth something, which is, so it couldn't be farther from the truth. It's not personal. That isn't something I want to invest in right now. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
And it's also possible that you weren't clear enough, that maybe you weren't clear enough about what the benefit would be to them, right? So, we talked about that initial no that we gave to the person reaching out about an event.
Mm-hmm.
It was because she didn't give us enough information. We didn't know how it was going to benefit us, so we said no.
Mm-hmm.
When we got the second email, had it come sooner, we would have said yes. And if that were the first email that we had gotten, it would have been an instant yes, right? So sometimes it's about lack of clarity. Sometimes it's about needing to kind of get more clear about what the benefit is, or maybe it's not beneficial enough to the initial person you reached out to. Maybe it will be beneficial for somebody else who does similar work, right? Um, think through that piece of it as well. And also, it just takes practice. You're going to get no's. It's okay. Just keep going, keep pushing forward, keep putting yourself out there because you will eventually get that yes.
Mm-hmm. And I think if you keep these 3 tips in mind, which is why I have them on the screen again, the 3 tips of collaboration, it I, that helps to lower the risk of the no. And if you do get a no and you know that you really studied the person, you described your idea clearly, and you did what the specific ask of them is, then I think you pretty much can feel secure that the no is for a good reason, that it wasn't for you, or it's not a good fit for right then, right now. So I think those 3 tips for collaboration are great, and we're running out of time. So I just want to touch on the 3 tips of successful partnerships again as well. same thing, write it down, work it through, be clear on your agreement. Of course, I want you to see a lawyer and have regular meetings so that you can stay in touch. And I think those are the best tips for that. Here, I just saw another question come in. I want to see if I can get it. I like to try to answer everybody's question. Not popping up. Here, I unmuted you, James. Do you want to ask your question?
Sure, yeah. I just going to say quickly, congratulations on creating a great community. That's excellent. And just, I was going to ask really quickly, it's sort of a general statement, but if you happen to have any examples of collaborations that you've done, really successful collaborations, I always find that examples are a great way to sort of share your experience, because obviously you both have done some fantastic things. So if you want to maybe just quickly share an example of something that you've done that you found that people have responded to, or that's really worked out well for both you and the other party, that'd be terrific.
Thanks, James.
Kate, the one that comes to mind for me is the 76 less than 100 panel we put together with Elena.
Yes, me too.
Well, let's talk about that.
Yeah, well, we'll be brief because I know we're running out of time, but we were invited to participate in a project called 76 less than 100. Alana Shankler, I'm totally going to butcher her name, I'm sorry, but her organization, or her goal with this project of 76 less than 100 was to shine the light on the inequity around compensation for women versus men, where women are making 76% of what men make, right? So for every dollar, women are making 76 cents for the same job, the same work, based on experience, everything else taken into consideration. So she reached out to us asking if we would be interested in being involved, since we work with women entrepreneurs, and asked if we would be up for putting together a panel discussion of sorts to start to kind of think about this conversation, to get this idea out there. Could be tangentially related, whatever it would be, around women and kind of pay inequality. And so we put together a panel. So that was the first part of the collaboration. It was a really fantastic project to be a part of. It's gotten national attention, actually. She's now in New Orleans doing, and I forget what, it's like 72 less than 100. So every city she's in, it's based on the state disparity. So it's always called something different, but it's officially the less than 100 project. And she has a store where she then sells, so men pay 100% of retail price and women pay 76%, at least when it was in Pittsburgh. That's how it worked. And so we did a panel discussion collaborating with 5 other women entrepreneurs in the Pittsburgh area to talk about their experience, about whether they were in the corporate world or entrepreneurship and how that works, hiring vendors, selling contracts, how does that work? Is there a disparity between working with women and men, and what that experience has been like? So that one really stands out. That was a recent one, and just the energy around that, one, feeling like we were part of something that was really important and powerful and meaningful, and also having a really wonderful collaboration, because Ilana was such a fantastic person. She was very detailed in what she expected. She took on a lot of work she was willing to do, and spelled out what she was able to take on for us and what our role was going to be. So all around, that was probably one of our best collaborations from the past year, or at least the one that comes to my mind first.
I think from the get-go, Alana was super thoughtful with the way she approached us and how she saw our 2 projects working together, and it just felt like a great fit. And when you find that, then you're like, this is what working together is all about. It is really possible to have a wonderful experience on so many levels, working with other organizations or other people. And I hope that everybody gets to experience that at some point, because it really is truly a wonderful, wonderful feeling.
And that is a great note on which to close. So thank you so much. Thanks everybody who participated and for your great questions. And thank you, Emily and Kate, for the work you do and for being here today and sharing that work.
Thank you
Thank
for
you so
having
much,
us.
Susan.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun to really partner with you and just see all of the good work that you've been doing too.
Oh, thanks. Well, maybe we'll have more.
Maybe.
Yeah, we'd love to see what comes out of it. Actually, if we could issue a challenge to everybody listening today, I would love to challenge you to reach out to one person today to collaborate, so pitch an idea. And if you don't feel like you're quite there yet, to make a list of 10 people you'd love to collaborate with in the future.
Oh,
Do it.
I love that challenge. I accept your challenge, and I hope everybody else does too. Okay, enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you so much. And remember, everybody, always cover your assets. See you on the 29th. Thank you.
Thank you.